Hi friends, very good evening and thank you for joining in. Could you just confirm if everything is working as expected? Very good evening. Okay, cool. I can see myself on my laptop. Again, I have a split screen setup. I have a screen and a webcam. So I'm just checking if everything is working as expected. Can you just confirm? Cool, cool, cool. So you can see me in the corner of the screen. You can see my whole screen itself. So we'll get started in a minute or two while everybody joins in. Cool. Again, I have all of your questions on a secondary screen, and we'll get started in a minute. I have some notes that I prepared. So let's do it as follows. First, I'll go through some notes that I've quickly written because this covers most of the typically observed tricks that we see, typically observed strategies that we see people follow to succeed. So first, I'll go through all of it. Then I'll take some questions. Okay. Oh, it's 6:02. So let's get started. Our objective today is fundamentally, again, I'll keep writing on the screen. This is anyway, I'll share the notes with you at the end of the session. Again, we'll upload this and we'll send you via email also. So the question here is how to improve problem solving skills for GATE. Right? That's again, this is not in general problem solving. It is very specific to GATE itself. Again, if there is any technical glitch, please let me know in the chat window. I'll try to connect via 4G or I'll try to change my connection and get back to you. Okay, cool. First and foremost, what we try to collate or what we try to put together is basically a bunch of strategies which are simple. They should be easy to follow, but most importantly, they need effort from your side. These are not some magic tricks, right? These are simple, easy to follow, some of them even commonsensical. I may have told you some of these tricks or some of these strategies in the past, but we have seen that if you put in the effort to incorporate these, your problem solving skills can really, really improve. And we have seen people year over year. I've done a similar session almost every year around the same time, around the Diwali Dashara time, because this is when your GATE preparation starts getting accelerated. So this has helped many students, not just in the last year, but the last 2-3 years that we have been helping GATE learners. And we have observed that people who have followed it, even if they're getting around 30 or even less than 30% marks in practice tests, they were successfully able to come in the top 300 ranks in GATE and get into good universities and good programs of their choice. So this we have seen actually people. And this is not some theory, this is actually stuff that we have observed over the last few years and we have collated that. So with that, let's understand to build problem solving skills over time. It is not a switch. Don't expect that you'll start today and tomorrow you'll become a phenomenal problem solver. That never happens in reality. It takes patience and time, and we have a few months ahead of us. We have roughly 3 to 4 months ahead of us, and that's a good enough time. It requires a lot of practice and some simple strategies. Some of these are commonsensical. Actually, one of the students, I really loved this. When I was doing a session for computer networks, one of the students said, hey, Varma, GATE questions, this is more true in computer networks because it's all about some simple math equations. It's like flow questions in your high school, right? It's instead of water flowing through pipes, now we have data flowing through networks. So he made a very nice statement which just struck with me. I think this is a student from the previous year. So he said, hey Varma, when we GATE questions are nothing but aptitude questions with CS concepts. And that is very, very true. I think that's the best way. First, let's understand the GATE questions and then we'll see how to improve problem solving skills. So GATE questions are nothing but like in your R.S. Agrawal type of aptitude questions, right? You have some simple concepts from high school and you have aptitude problems based on those simple concepts like time, distance, water flowing through pipes and all of that. GATE questions are same aptitude questions, but with CS concepts and CS fundamentals. That is the key, right? And this struck with me. This has always struck with me since I did this session. And this is the right way to look at it. Now, if you think, again, let's compare and contrast because in a lot of competitive exams, we have problems that we have to solve. Let's understand GATE from a broader perspective so that we can actually take it forward. Most GATE questions, realistically speaking, are mostly easy and medium. Some of them could be tricky. There aren't many hard or very hard questions in GATE. Most GATE questions are easy and medium, But the challenge with GATE is vastness of syllabus. There is a huge amount of syllabus that we have. This is the biggest problem with GATE. It is the syllabus. It's not the hardness of problems. It is the syllabus which is hard. And that's why we keep telling you, please revise every week, every month, every quarter, which is 3 months. Now, if you compare and contrast, look at exams like CAT, look at IIT JEE, or look at interviews at some of the top product-based companies like Amazon, Google. Their questions are typically on the same scale. Their questions will be medium to hard. For example, I've done hundreds of interviews at Amazon. You have to actually implement something like dynamic programming or a graph algorithm from scratch. And it's not your standard BFS, DFS. You have to modify them to your needs, right? So they typically tend to be medium to hard. They tend to be tricky, but their syllabus is very limited. For example, in IIT JEE, you just have physics, math, and chemistry of 11th and 12th, which is literally like 3-4 subjects in GATE syllabus. CAT is still smaller syllabus. Even top product-based companies like Amazon, Google, etc., you basically have programming, data structures, algorithms. That's it. Limited syllabus, but harder questions and trickier questions. Now, if you look at UPSC, which is a civil services exam, there it's a different beast all. Probably one of the hardest exams in the world that I know of. Their questions can be medium hard, some of them even very hard. I've seen the UPSC exam for mathematics because I just wanted to solve some good problems for fun. The syllabus is vast. Everything from your whole first standard to 10th standard is in the syllabus, right? Along with some specialization. But still, even there are very few very hard questions. Most questions are medium to hard. Yet the syllabus is super vast, which makes life very, very hard. That's why UPSC is the hardest exam, probably one of the hardest exams in the world, because the syllabus is hard and the questions are medium to hard, few of them very hard also. Now, there is one case where, like for example, if you take International Mathematical Olympiad or International Physics Olympiad, there most questions are very hard. And the syllabus is also reasonably vast. So if, again, the reason I'm telling you this is, all these competitive exams or competitions require problem solving skills. We have to understand where we are in the GATE exam. GATE exam's challenge is not the hardness of questions. It is a vastness of syllabus. That we have to keep in mind. So those of you who think GATE is very hard, it's not. Tomorrow after cracking GATE, you'll go and interview at product-based companies where you'll encounter medium and hard questions more often than easy questions. Almost every interview question that you will get at Amazons and Googles of the world will be typically harder than 90% of your GATE questions, right? So this is just to get you get a sense of it. So now let's go to the actual strategies. Since we understand where GATE stands, let's go to the exact strategies. First strategy. I've seen tons of people make so many silly mistakes. Okay, I'm sure many of you have done silly mistakes yourself. First and foremost, again, just checking, is everything working all right, folks? Just to be sure. Again, I'm looking at your chat window. Is everything working all right? I can also check it at my end. Is everything working all right? Okay, cool. If everything is working all right, we are good. Okay, let me just continue then. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everything is working. There are no technical glitches. Okay, first and foremost, this is the most important thing. Read the question and options carefully. For example, you may have seen me do this in the videos when I solve problems. You may have seen this from our other instructors also. When they solve problems, the worst way to lose marks, the worst way to make mistakes is silly mistakes. Again, I've been through this journey myself. I used to do so many silly mistakes when I was preparing for GATE in my third year and final year. And this is a strategy that I learned, which has worked phenomenally well for many of our instructors and also students. Suppose there is a question like this. First thing, when you're reading the question, make a note of the most important things. You may have seen me do this when I'm solving problems. For example, I have a binary min heap. And the question is, what is the worst case to find the maximum element? A lot of times people don't read it properly. People don't highlight the key things. I've seen people for this question answer order of 1, thinking that it's a min heap, it's a max heap, or that we are asking the minimum element. Right? I've seen people make all sorts of crazy mistakes here. So the question is, when you're reading the question, please make a note, right? Make a note of all the key aspects of it, keywords, right? Or key numbers that you have. Make a note of them and always look at all the 4 options. Very often, I've seen this in tricky questions where the exam, whoever is setting the exam wants you to commit an error. So they'll give you the obvious order of 1 at the beginning and you get tempted and you're in a hurry to solve questions and you just go ahead and do this, which is actually crazy incorrect, right? So read the questions and options carefully, very, very carefully. Underline what matters. So the strategy here is note down the key points and the key numbers. Reread the question. If the question sounds too trivial, in a min heap, what is the time complexity to find minimum element? It's order of 1. It's a trivial question. If a question sounds too trivial or too complex, because GATE doesn't ask very easy questions or very hard questions. If it sounds too simple or too complex, spend 20-30 seconds again, reread the question. That's okay. Spending 30 seconds there and getting the right marks is more important, right? That's the strategy. First strategy. Again, I'll share all these notes with you after the session. Okay. I think, I've also uploaded this to Google Drive. I'll share it to you by the end of it. Second thing is, please draw diagrams and tables. Very, 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 very important. Again, you may have seen me do this, right? Because when you see things visually, right, you understand what is missing and how to solve. Like visualize as much as possible. This is my favorite strategy. You may have seen me do I'll show you some examples from the course videos where we do it. If you see a lot of solved problems in the course, whether it's COA, whether it's DLD, whether it is computer networks, TOC, almost in every subject, I try to draw diagrams. Because I am a visual thinker, I think I make fewer mistakes if I draw things, right? Again, you can check it out in solved problems and live sessions. For example, I've taken one. This is a COA question about some decoders, etc. This is a problem that we solved in one of the previous sessions, right? Look at how many diagrams I've drawn here. Because without diagrams, it's very easy for me because there are so many numbers here. Look at how many numbers are here. It's very, very easy to do a small silly mistake and lose everything. So first, and again, this is a medium level question in GATE. This is, I think, from one of the solved problems in the previous years, right? So just draw diagram, as many diagrams as possible. This will help you minimize mistakes and solve the problem better. Again, I love this strategy. I do this even for, like when I solve machine learning problems also on day-to-day basis. I do this every day in, day out, because I think visually it makes me get clarity of the problem. For example, in combinatorics, right? This is a screenshot again of a solved problem, right? We have some case where there are 6 boys and 7 girls sitting circularly and no 2 girls are seated together. Look at the diagram I draw. I said there are boys here, there are girls that can sit here, and how many ways they can all sit. No 2 girls are seated together. And there are already 6 boys that are sitting here. So draw these diagrams so that you get clarity of the picture. So that, again, problem solving is all about breaking things down. And visualizing the problem is one of the best strategies that I know of. Again, another question in conditional probability, right? There is this question, again, this is a solved problem in the class. I've taken some screenshots and put it here. See, it says first you select a box and choose a ball from the box. And then it asks about some simple conditional probability. What I try to do in the solved problems is I draw the boxes. And I say, hey, there is a box B, there is a box P, there is a box Q, there are these many red, there are these many red and blue. Just visualizing the problem will help you solve problems better. Very, very important, right? Again, draw as many. That's why even in the course videos, we try to draw tons of diagrams so that you learn this trick. Okay, that's the second strategy. Third strategy is work always backwards with equations and mathematical expressions. I'll show you what I mean by that. Imagine you know an equation like this. Okay, suppose I'm just writing an equation. I'll show you more concrete examples from computer networks, etc. Suppose I have an equation like this. From the data that is given to me, fill in what I already have. Work backwards from this equation. And let's assume I don't know what A is and I don't know what D is. B is given to me, C is given to me. And I have to find X. So what do I do now? I go and find, using the problem, is there a way for me to find A and D? This is like filling things backwards. So first write the equation related to that problem, fill in the details that are already given to you. Known, for example, B and C are known to you or they are trivial to compute, fill that in. Now work backwards to compute what X is by trying to fill in A and D, which are the missing terms. right? For example, look at the Bayes theorem, right? In Bayes theorem, again, this is one of the problems that we solve in the class, right? So suppose this is what I want to calculate. I think this is probability of cancer given that my test result is positive. This is what I want to compute. And I try to break it down. I write the mathematical expressions for it. Now I got the whole mathematical expression here. Now I say for this, what all data is given to me? All this data. See, when I was reading the problem, I wrote down everything that is given to me. I fill in this information. Now I say what information is not yet there. Try to compute that and finally solve the problem. This is especially true for things like Bayes theorem where there's an equation underneath the hood. Similarly, in computer networks, right? You have this inequation, right? There's a fundamental inequation about bandwidths and propagation delays and stuff like that. Time to transmit and the propagation delays. This is a fundamental inequation in computer networks. Now, in this problem, again, this is one of the solved problems that we have. In this problem, look at what equation is given. Or can I represent the transmission time as a ratio of these two? So keep filling it in, see what is given to you, what is not given to you. Use fundamental equations, expressions, and inequations. This is a terrific strategy. Again, I'll recap all these strategies at the end, okay? Fourth, okay, this is a fourth strategy. Debug your mistakes. Again, I've seen that most people, again, this I'll have to put a double, triple star here. Let me put a double, triple star, right? Or I should just put a triple star here. This is a triple star. This is probably, if I can, I'll put a 5 stars here. The reason for that is simple. If you're not, it's okay to commit mistakes. If you're not learning from the mistakes, you're just fooling yourself. Okay, that's why I've written very, very, very important here. See, when you make a mistake, sit down and debug, which means find out if you have a conceptual gap. If you don't know that concept, then go back, revise, or check out some solved problems. If you have made a silly mistake, make a note. And if you have never seen a similar problem, this rarely happens because in GATE, 95% or even 99% of problems are of the same format that have been seen earlier. This rarely happens, but if it's a completely new problem type that you have never seen in solved problems, in practice problems, then of course, you realize that, hey, I can't solve this type of problem, and you learn from it, make a note of it, and then next time you should be able to solve it. This happens less than 1% of the times. Most often it is these two things. And if you have a conceptual gap, revise, check out solved problems, similar solved problems. If it's a silly mistake, make a note in your revision, make sure you revise that. Again, other thing, in debugging, while you debug, take a note of your mistakes. So what we often suggest people is, keep a short notes in which you write for every topic when you solve problems, whatever mistake you've made, silly mistakes or trivial mistakes that you don't know, you know the concept, you've seen that type of problem, but you've still made a mistake. Make a note of it. So we had a student who literally in the GATE examination, his name is Aditya Ravishankar. I think last year we did not have anybody who got 0 negative marks, but this is the year before that. I met Aditya when I was at Indian Institute of Science recently. So this guy in the GATE examination, he had 0 negative marks, literally 0 negative marks. And that's a phenomenal feat. And he got in the top, if I'm not wrong, top 50 ranks, if I'm not wrong. And he's now at Indian Institute of Science, if I recall. I met him recently, right? So the whole point here is by following these strategies, especially note-taking. So when I asked him, how did you manage this? Because this is a phenomenal feat. He said, Varma, I just made note of all my mistakes and made sure that I don't mess it up. And make a part of your revision, whether you're revising weekly, monthly, or quarterly, revision of mistakes that you have made notes of, that should be part of your revision. This is a great strategy that has worked, and I have learned from Aditya that, hey, people can even go to as low as like the least possible 0 negative marks. It's a phenomenal feat. Cool. The fifth strategy. This is also a very common mistake I see people do, which is they don't struggle with the question. They are in a hurry for volume of questions, not the solving part of it. It doesn't matter if you solve 5,000 questions or even 10,000 questions. If you are not built that problem solving ability, knowing answers doesn't matter. So the key there is to struggle with the question. For example, imagine if you want to build muscle, right? What do? You go to the gym, you lift weights, right? Or if you want to lose weight, you go for a fast run, like a sprint run. You have to struggle through the process to build, whether you want to build muscle or whether you want to lose weight or whether you want to build problem solving ability. That struggle is the important part. There is no shortcut here. If there was, the world would be very different, right? Then we wouldn't have exams like this. The struggle with the question. So first strategy is this. Try a solution first. Do not see the solution till you have tried the problem thrice, 3 times. Don't see it. First, you tackle it. First, you try to tackle it once, which is now. Okay, you have not been able to crack it. That's okay. Few hours later, maybe end of day or next day early morning, after you got some rest or after you studied for something else. After a few hours, 5, 6, 7, 10 hours, give it a shot again. Try to tackle that question again because your mind is fresh. Take a fresh look at the question. If you're still not able to solve, don't see the solution. Then go after 1 or 2 days, third attempt. See, by doing these attempts, you're constantly challenging your mind to tackle that question. You're not giving up on the question. So please don't see the solution. Try it at least 3 times, especially those questions that you're struggling a lot. This is like lifting weights for your mind. You have to do it consistently day in and day out. Try various approaches. It's okay to fail again. The world isn't collapsing. Try various approaches, and this is the most common preparation mistake that we see, as I was telling you, that people don't struggle with questions. People just see the solution. Now, after all the 3 attempts, if you've still not gotten it, that's okay. See the solution. You will never forget what you are lacking now because you struggled through it 3 times. This is very, very important. If you still fail, that's okay. Check the solution. Debug what is wrong in your approach. Again, then tackle unsolved problems again and again. So similar problems that you have, right? Whatever, suppose there is a problem that you could not solve today, right? You check the solution, you debugged your approach. Maybe 2 weeks or 1 week later, go back to that problem because you would have forgotten that problem. Try to tackle it. Again, don't memorize the solution. Understand the approach. Always arrive from first principles, which means arrive from basics. Again, I don't remember even a single equation. I'm terrible, like even Bayes theorem, right? Which we use a lot in in machine learning and mathematics, because Bayes theorem is so fundamental in probability that we use so much in machine learning also. Though there's a whole area called Bayesian statistics and Bayesian machine learning. I don't remember the Bayes equation, the Bayes theorem. I derive it. It takes me like 30 seconds to derive it. It's just about the fundamentals are very simple. It all boils down to conditional probability. So the key is not to memorize. The key is to understand the approach. Again, I'm terrible at remembering things. I'm very, very bad. I cannot tell you how bad I am. Because I'm so bad at remembering, I remember things through diagrams. And I try to derive. Since my childhood, I've focused on deriving things because I was so bad at remembering things. Okay, that's very, very important. 6th, I don't have to tell you this, solve as many problems as possible. Now, there are typically 3 phases that you go through. When you're learning a concept, right, spend roughly 1/3 of your time in solving problems. In your first revision, revise, spend 2/3 of your time on problem solving, because revision through problem solving is super duper important. In your second revision, if you have time for second revision, more than 90% of your time should go into problem solving. That is the key, super duper important. So here is a small flow chart that I've made. Solve as many problems as possible, struggle, and this is what creates problem solving skills. When you're solving, if you see the solution, you will never build problem solving skills. I have seen GATE students who have solved 10,000 problems. They email us, I talk to some of these and they say, I've solved 10,000 problems, Verma, but I'm not able to solve. They have not solved 10,000 problems. They've seen the solutions of 10,000 problems. That's the problem. And very, very importantly, this journey will be like a roller coaster ride. There will be ups, there will be downs, there will be places where we all get demotivated. It has happened to me when I was preparing for GATE. It has happened to me tons of times afterwards. You're never at your best. So it's very common to get motivated, but remember that patience, which means you got to have patience. It's okay even if you're not getting problems right. Persistence, which means do it regularly and consistently, day after day, day after day. All we have is close to 100 days now. patience, persistence, consistency, they're impossible to beat. In case, worst case, you're not getting a good rank this year, you'll get it next year. It's okay. The most important thing is these, right? Again, we have seen, as I was telling you a while ago, we have seen people who got less than 30% marks who are super demotivated. Some of my co-founders, instructors, we talk to them and say, let's follow these process. And they've gone to top 300 ranks in less than 6 months, right? And typically, if you want to get into top 300 ranks, all you need is like around 60 to 65. Again, this changes from year to year in general, but anywhere from 62 to 65. And remember that all toppers go through this stage of demotivation. I was rank 2 long ago in 2007, but I have gone through my ups and downs. All of us go through. We are not superhumans unless you are a genius and all that. Those are rare. Those are like 0.0001% people. All of us, all toppers go through that stage. So in summary, these are all the key points. I'll share these notes with you after the session is over. Read questions and options carefully. Draw diagrams and tables. Work backwards from equations and expressions. Debug your mistake. Struggle with the problems. Solve as many as possible. Do not get demotivated. This is the summary. Any questions you have, I'm happy to answer now. But just before we do that, can you give me a second? I wanted to quickly share these notes because I just uploaded, right? So if you give me a second or so, I'll just find out the folder in which I have these notes. I'll share it with you right away. In the meantime, you can post your questions in the chat window. I'll start answering them like in 2-3 minutes as soon as I share the link with you. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to find this. Just give me a second. I think I got the link. Just give me a second here. I'll just post it here. I think this is the link, just to be sure. So I'm just posting the link here. Again, this whole notes that we have here, I've posted the link from Google Drive. You can check it out right away, right? And now let's see some of the questions that you may have. Okay. Just a second here. So let me just shift the screen a little. Give me a second, please. Okay, so all your questions in the questions tab, okay? So what is the, okay, so Yuvraj says, what is the right time to complete a syllabus? The answer to that is the earlier the better, to put it bluntly. But we have seen a lot of people who complete their syllabus sometime in December. We've even seen some toppers that I've spoken to again, I speak to a lot of students on regular basis. I've seen people who even finish their syllabus in the second week of January. That's okay. The faster, the better, because you get more time to revise. Okay, that's the bottom line. Now, Chirag says, how to know whether to leave a question or not? Very, very good question. So Chirag, this is what I often do. It's a sensible thing. Suppose if you have a question and you are mostly clueless about it, if you can eliminate some options, or if you think you have a shot, right? These are the possibilities. You read a question and you're like, I've never solved this, I'm lost. Ignore that question. It's okay. You don't require 100 out of 100. Let's be realistic. Number one, if you have seen a similar type of question in the past, or if you have solved it and you think you can eliminate a few options, or you think if you spend a little more time, you can take a shot at it, flag it. You can come back to that question at the end. Okay, that's the key. Otherwise, just leave it. It's okay. But then don't leave every question. That's a risk. I've suggested this to some students, and some students end up leaving like 50% of the questions. That's also not good. So you can leave about 15, maybe maximum 20% of questions, but don't skip every question. That's important. Now, how MSQ should be handled? Shikhar, the simple strategy for MSQ is this. Imagine no options are given to you. Solve the problem. I mean, this is the best thing. In MSQ, you can't eliminate any option. So you have to double, triple check the 4 options that are given to you, because multiple of them can be correct. Number one. Number two, forget the options and solve the problem first. And when you get a solution, then go back to the options. If that is possible. It's not always possible for every question, but if that's possible, that's the way to look at it. So for MSQs, you have to actually I would say triple check the options, because like sometimes, again, what we have observed is MSQs typically are not tricky. They're actually simpler. Because they're MSQs, the examiner knows that you're going to make mistakes. So MSQs tend to be less on the trickier side. They may be medium questions, but they tend to be less trickier. So if you're careful, you'll get it right. Again, when MSQs were not there earlier, if some of you who have been through GATE for a while know, the first time they came, like we started conducting exams and people were making tons of mistakes because they were still in the elimination mindset, right? So avoid that elimination mindset for MSQs. So Shreyas says, how to efficiently cover a subject in a short time. Even for a small subject, I'm taking more time. Shreyas, there are no shortcuts. Like to be frank with you, everybody learns at a different pace. For example, if I have to prepare for GATE today, I'll cover some subjects very, very fast. All math subjects I'll cover super fast. But if there is a system subject like computer networks, I'll take more time because there's more concepts and I'm bad at remembering things. So there is no shortcut. If you already have gone through a subject, or imagine, let's say 50% of a subject, go through the notes that we have, right, on our website. Go through the notes, skip those parts that you already know, as long as you can solve problems, and only focus on those parts where you need help. That's one shortcut I can give you. But be careful not to skip the important ones. So Shashank says, how much time should we spend on a question in the test series depending on the difficulty of the question? Shashank, on an average, right now we are still like 100 days away. Test series, try to spend about 2 minutes, approximately 2 minutes for a 1 mark question, about 4 minutes for a 2 minutes question, for a 2 marks question. Approximately, because look at it. You have 300 minutes. You have 180 minutes. 3 hours exam. You have roughly 1:2 ratio. 1 mark question, approximately 2 minutes. 2 mark questions, approximately 3 to 4 minutes. If you're spending more time than that, at least if you're able to eliminate options, flag it, come back to it at the end. All right. So Sumit says, I have not completed COA, DBMS, OSCN. What subject order should I follow? See, look at it. See, all these subjects are slightly on the lengthier side. All the subjects that you have mentioned right now. Because you say you've completed digital logic design, maybe you want to complete COA first because it's obvious, right? DBMS. See, again, Chirag, we have, so Sumit, on our website, not Chirag, sorry, on our website, we give you a list of subjects in a specific order. You can just visit our website. Like on our website, there's a detailed blog along with notes, right? On the order. That order has been prepared by researching last 22 years of questions there. That's an order we always recommend. But here I would say start with COA, primarily because you have already done digital logic design. So it should be easy for you to go to COA. Then start with DBMS, then OS, finally CN. That's what I would recommend. So Chirag says, should I watch videos of aptitude and verbal or directly read the notes? Chirag, if you're short in time, just read the notes and solve the problems. I would say more extreme version of it, which is first let's solve problems, boss. Whatever topics you're not confident, go to the notes. If you're able to solve the problems, get, or else worst case, go to the videos. That's a better thing. You should cover these subjects fast. How many tests should we attend in a day? Starting from now in order to solve 2 test series till Jan end. Saurabh, if you're doing 1 test a day, I think that's good. Anything more than 1 test a day can be very, very exhausting. See, it's not just the volume or the number of tests. After taking a test, you have to spend good amount. If you're taking a test for 3 hours, you typically need 3 hours to debug. So I would say don't focus too much on covering all the tests. Even if you only take 50% of the tests, debug what went wrong. That will give you more value, right? But limit yourself to no more than 1 test a day. Otherwise, it gets very, very exhausting. I've been through situations where I've done 2 tests a day, and you can't debug everything because you'll get super exhausted. So when is IIIT exam registration starting, and any tips for GATE as well as IIIT? I think whatever we have told for GATE, they hold for IIIT also. IIIT thankfully started a programming thing. But if you know GATE concepts, writing those programs are trivial. They've started off with a small programming thing. IIIT, I'm not sure if the registrations have started. I'll check with my team. and they'll keep you informed anyway. So this is a question from Dipan. Just a second. Dipan's question is, I'm struggling with juggling between subjects, as when I'm studying one subject and revising other subjects. What should be the strategy? So Dipan, I would suggest this. Finish a subject. Otherwise, it will become like a mess for you in your head. When you're studying a subject, for example, you're spending, let's say, 2 weeks to study one subject. Focus on that subject. Finish that subject. At the end of finishing a subject, revise this subject and the older subjects. Doing this mishmash, you can get very thoroughly confused. Especially I belong to that category where I'm very easy to get confused. So what I used to do, what a lot of students also do is, suppose I'm spending these 2 weeks on, let's say, operating systems. I'll finish whole of operating systems, revise weekly. At the end of operating systems, then I'll go revise operating systems, the 2-3 subjects that I've learned back. That is a better thing to avoid confusion. Shikhar says, okay, Shikhar, we are calling students wherever they have problems. See, very often we try to spend time with students if they're struggling with it. Our GATE team is completely there. We are still working on this. We are still trying to help people, right? So one of the things, while we are now part of Scalar, we are very, very clear that all of our students in every program, we continue to serve you as is, right? As long as you have the registrations for it. Again, there are also some students who needed some extra help, which we're doing now. Nothing has changed on our front, right? Of course, we have more instructors now because, like for example, I split my time between all the applied routes and Scalar stuff. So we have new instructors who are helping you here. Fundamentally, things have not changed for us. So this is from Nilesh, which is, okay, so thanks, Shikhar. I think one of my teammates also responded to you saying that we are doing these calls. I look at those metrics on daily basis. So Nilesh, the urge to complete syllabus overpowers the schedule of practicing and revising. How to deal with this? Okay, for a working professional, very nice question, Nilesh. Actually, I completely get it. When I wrote my GATE exam in my 3rd year, right, I actually left whole of computer networks. I left a couple of subjects, primarily because those subjects were not covered in my BTech syllabus in 3rd year. I left completely. I think I left whole of CN. There was one more subject that I left. At least half of some other subject, I forgot which one. CN though I left completely. But I focused on the core subjects, because at the end of the day, you don't have to get 100 out of 100. If you're getting 65 to 70, you're in a good place. If you're getting an 80, is great. So don't force yourself to do incompletely any subject. Even if you're covering only 80% of the syllabus, do it perfectly. That will give you a better chance. And in the other subjects, cover the simpler topics. Like for example, we have done these sessions, right, in the past. They're also there on our YouTube. And you can go to our whole, you can go to our blog where we say what subject, what topics are easy to score, typically in GATE. So for example, I'll give you a simple example. Take theory of computation. Very, very scoring, right? All you need to know is some basic concepts. That's it. So instead of skipping whole of theory of computation, if you're struggling with, let's say, Turing machines is a slightly tricky concept. Skip Turing machines, undecidability, all that. Rest everything, finite state automata, context-free grammars, all of that you can quickly learn. So even subjects that you're done incompletely, focus on the easy to solve stuff. Remember one thing, you don't have to worry too much about completing every subject perfectly, right? Of course, if you do that, your chances of getting in the top 10 or top 100 ranks increases. But if you're constrained on time, this is the trade-off that you have to do. Okay. So Rajkumar has a question. Is it enough if I solve all the test series provided by Applied GATE, or do I have to do any other test series? Rajkumar, like you have almost I think 2 years worth of test series. If you solve all of our practice problems, all of our test series problems, it's more than sufficient. But solving, that's why I defined what is solving very clearly. Solving means tackle a problem, give it 3 attempts, debug your mistakes. That is the key. Right? If you do this for all of our test series, I don't see any reason. Like we have seen tons of toppers who are in top 10, top 100, even top 200. All they did was just our test series, and that was sufficient. In case you want more, go solve the previous year questions. That's more than sufficient, dude. Right? So why less people are taking test series? Raj, I don't know. I've also observed that lesser number of people are taking test series. That's where my team is reaching out and like nudging everybody to take more test series, right? But at the end of the day, remember that even in GATE examination, there might be 1 lakh people who write the GATE exam. But your competition is not with 1 lakh because most people are ill prepared or not at all prepared. Your competition often is just with the top 10,000 people because those are the serious people, right? So even if only 40 or 50 or 100 people take our test series, those are the serious people. Those are the ones who are your true competition, right? So that's perfectly okay. You take it, you don't stop it. And others who are not taking test series, again, Raj, we also see people doubling down on test series after Diwali. We often observe that people start taking law because they want to keep the test series till the end, right? While we launch it, we see a lot of people taking test series after Diwali is one spike that we see in our traffic of test series. After Christmas, like after December, sometime in December, they wake up. They say, now I'll do all test series 1 day or 2 a day also sometimes. So we see those spikes happening at various places when people start getting serious on it. So Shikhar says, after watching the videos of COA, I was unable to do PYQs. What should I do? This never happened with other subjects. Shikhar, happens to all of us. COA is tricky. Right? Happens to all of us. The suggestion, especially for COA, is whatever question is given, draw diagrams. I've shown you these diagrams a while ago, right? I do this when I solve COA problems myself. I do this day in and day out. COA is a simple subject. If you know the foundations and if you're drawing the diagram, especially for COA, this is godsend. So when you're watching our videos and seeing the solved problems, look at this strategy on how we have drawn diagrams for a given question. That will help you solve questions. Okay, I hope that helps you. Is there any exam alongside GATE and IIIT PG for top colleges? These are the 2 ones that we often see people take, right? So again, my team also suggested that a lot of students actually take tests in December and Jan. We also see some people after Diwali because right now it's Dashra, Diwali type stuff, right? So the number of people who take tests also reduced. Should we attempt to take the full test series even if you have not completed a couple of subjects? That's okay, Dipan. Start taking them. You'll get into maybe not now. Probably you should start taking. See, if you have a couple of subjects, right, just wait for it. If you can complete by, let's say, December first week, take full tests then. Just give it some time. Give it we have still 1.5 months before December 1st, right? So finish your subjects, 2 or 3 subjects that you have, finish as much as possible. Take full length tests then. Then you get a more realistic perspective of where you stand. Kanaya says, sometimes I get 25 to 40% marks in practice tests and sometimes I get 80 to 90%. It gets demotivating. Kanaya, that happens. Don't worry about it. Just a second, guys. Just a second. This happens a lot. Now, when you're getting the 25 to 40, my gut feel is you're making a lot of silly mistakes. Or you're struggling with some concepts in some subjects. So here is my suggestion. Apply the debugging technique. Apply the avoiding silly mistake strategy that we discussed today. The reason we are doing this specifically now is because we know that this is typically the right time for this live session because we typically see people getting more serious about problem solving skills now. Till now they've learned concepts, now they want to double down on problem solving. Kanaya, something like this happens all the time. Don't worry about it. It has happened to me when I was a learner. Just make sure you're debugging your mistakes, avoiding silly mistakes. You can get a consistency there. So what makes GATE 2022 paper tougher than previous years? Sahir, it's not that tough, to be honest. It is in line with, it's maybe slightly tougher, but not extreme question paper of any sort. Like there are a few extreme question papers. I think one that I have been part of, which is 2006. That's an extremely hard question paper where the topper got 60 out of 150 marks. In those days, our marks were 150. 60 out of 150 was the highest. That's equivalent to something like what? 40 out of 100 nowadays, right? So last year people got good marks. It's not that tough a paper. And I think GATE over the last few years has stopped having many tough questions, but they're introducing more tricky questions. Even the intention of MSQ, which were introduced only a couple of years back, was to make questions tricky, not hard, right? How to be good in math concepts like permutations, combinations, and probability? Because this is a question from Raj. Raj, the essence is the same thing. If you're getting challenged in permutations, combinations, drawing diagrams and mapping the problem to one you have seen. So again, never apply formulae. That is the most common mistake. In most of math, probability, statistics, combinatorics, people just try to find a formula that fits here. Don't do that. The way we have solved problems in the class, right? Suppose I need a circular permutation. First, understand the problem, draw the diagram, and get to the circular permutation from scratch. If you see all of combinatorics, I've tried to teach from problems only. I've tried not to teach any formulae to you. Everything starts with a problem, and we derive it from first principles. That is a better approach. That works very well in especially in permutations, combinations. In probability, mapping is the key. Right? So suppose somebody asks a question and you discover that it's Poisson distribution. Now you have the you have the PMF and the CDF of the Poisson distribution. See what you have, see what is being asked. Right? That working backwards from equations helps a lot in probability. Should we solve GATE PYQs for most subjects before attempting test series? No, Soham. First comes our practice tests. First solve the problems that we have, because most of the problem types or the problem models that are there in PYQs are already covered in a test series. So your first preference should ideally be a test series and then go to PYQs if you need more questions. So for CN, what are the most important topics to be completed? So Shikhar, we have we have done these live sessions where for each subject we have covered what topics are simple, what topics are hard. In case it will be there in your course content. I think some of them are also on YouTube. In case you're not able to find, just send us an email. Our team will send you that exact video or exact. So we have created these sheets, and they can share you that sheet which tells you exactly which topic is most important, which topic you can afford to skip and stuff like that. Some of it is also there on our blog. Just send us an email. Our team can send you more details. So this is okay. This is I think Utkarsh Bhartwaj. Sorry, Hindi. I read it as a. So this is Utkarsh who says how to increase problem solving speed. A lot of time I'm struggling getting out of time. See, Utkarsh, my suggestion to you is this. See, right now, maybe in a month or two, maybe in a month or month and a half, you want to double down on speed. My suggestion is set a timer. Take one mark questions. Take 10 of them. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Try to solve it. The time pressure, again, typically in GATE, time is not such a big issue in general. But if for 1 mark question you're taking 4 or 5 minutes, then time will be an issue for you. For 2 mark question, if you're taking 10 minutes, then time will be an issue. If you are in such a terrible situation, then set a timer and start working. That can help you sometimes. Okay. There is another question about from Dipan also about time. Again, typically your timing also will improve as you take more and more in tests, right? More and more like tests, full length tests, your timing will improve dramatically. So don't worry too much about timing, but if you feel you need having a stop clock or taking full length tests is a good idea. Okay, cool. Let me just quickly scroll through the other questions. Chirag says in test series, should we try to attempt all questions? Try to attempt all questions, na? At least so that when you debug, you know what you don't know. This is not the final test or else you can, even if you skip a question because you're completely clueless, go back and debug that. That's better. So how to study math is making notes important. Shreyas, yes, math is more problem solving oriented, but you can just use the notes that we give you and make short notes beyond that. Okay. So Yash says, I studied OS 2 months back, and when I'm revising, I realized that I forgot some concepts. Happens to all of us, no? If you've forgotten some concept, go back, revise the notes. If you're not able to understand the notes, go to the videos, watch them at 2x speed. Happens to all of us. Like, for example, if you ask me, like, it's been a while I read computer networks myself, right? If you ask me suddenly something in computer networks, I'll say, "ठीक है, give me 2 days, or give me 1 day, I'll revise all the notes." Everybody forgets if you have not seen it for 2 months, everybody forgets. Imagine there is a machine learning algorithm that I've not looked at for the last 6 months. I will forget it. Happens to all of us. So don't worry about it. This is very common. Whatever you're forgetting is common. But with multiple revisions, that problem will go away. Okay, so next is so Raj says, I was able to solve 70 to 80% questions from PYQs in CN, but there are some questions in test series that are completely new. That's okay, Raj. We've intentionally created some tricky, hard questions, slightly on the harder side, because again, some of these questions we created from standard textbooks. And the intention of doing that is there might be a new question format. See, one of our objectives in test series, not all the time, but sometimes, is that we want to push you a little more. We want to prepare you for a harder GATE exam, so that even if one of the hardest GATE papers comes this year, you are prepared. That was our intention. We've intentionally created this. That's why I'm telling everyone that first start with the test series. Once the test series is over, then PYQs will feel easy to you, because all of those formats would have gotten covered. Even some new ones would have gotten covered in our setup. So Shikhar has a question about mocks. I think my teammate has answered this in chat. Cool. Yash says, I did that for maths. Yeah, cool. So cool, guys. I think we have answered a good chunk of questions, but I'm sure you'll have more questions on your mind. So let's do one thing. I've shared the notes. Again, let me put the link here again, so that, again, I've just uploaded to Google Drive and it's available for you. And if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us, because every case is different. And in a session like this, which is like a 1-hour session, we may not be able to cover every case. But the most important thing, so let me start sharing my screen here. The most important thing, where is our screen? The key takeaway of today's session, right? So let me put it here. While I've answered some of your personal questions, I'm sure my team can also answer them, because they've seen like thousands and thousands of students over the years. But this is the summary. I just want to reiterate the summary in the last few minutes of our session. First and foremost, read the questions and options carefully, draw diagrams and tables, work backwards from equations and expressions, filling in whatever is there and trying to work out whatever equations and expressions are not there. Debug your mistakes, struggle with the problems, solve as many as possible, don't get demotivated. Again, that's why I've written a summary at the very end, so that you don't feel lost. Okay, cool. So with that, we'll wrap up today's session, and just give me a second. Again, I'm sure you will have more questions that I may not be able to answer, because we wanted to keep it short and crisp, 1-hour session. Again, I'll keep doing more and more of these types of sessions in the future along with my team, and see you again in a short while, where we'll discuss more of these, right? So I think my team is also answering some of the questions, which is okay. I think there are some questions about some specific types of live sessions, etc. Yes, so we are planning for more sessions, because we got this request from a few people. In addition to what was already planned, we'll surely incorporate that. Again, feel free to reach out to us via email. In some instances, if possible, we'll also try to reach out to you via phone. We try to do as much as possible on that front and help you through this. Okay. Sounds good, folks. Sounds good. Thanks a ton. Again, see you again. Have a good week and have a good weekend. And we'll do more sessions as we go forward. Bye-bye. Take care.